All right, another patron request for Peter Benavente. I told you were going to hear this name a lot. In fact, I'm doing another one right after this for him as well. So here we go. This is The Intruder with Dennis Quaid. This is a film I saw the trailer to and had zero interest in seeing because it looked about as generic as humanly possible. But when Peter requested it, I was like, okay, there must be more to it than that. I mean, if he's wanting me to cover it on the channel in a patron request paid kind of way. And so I went and I picked it up from Redbox and I watched it yesterday. And yeah, I mean, it's exactly what I expected it to be. It's as generic as humanly possible. There's not a single thing you haven't seen before 100 times. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like every fucking 90s thriller that was ever made compiled into one thing. You know, like a freaking Pacific Heights or something, like The Tenant that won't move out, except for there's a little spin on it, and it's this guy who, Dennis Quaid's character, I mean, obviously I'm going to get into spoilers here in a second, but he sells this couple a house and they move in and he won't leave. He's obsessed with the property, then he even becomes obsessed with the wife. And of course, it's at first it just seems like he's a lonely guy and the wife is on his side. And then as the film goes on, it's revealed more and more how mentally deranged this guy actually is. And by the end, of course, they figure this out and they survive and they kill him off, and that's that. So yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what Peter was expecting from my review here, but I of course will give it everything I got as always, and we'll talk about it. So let's break this down. But yeah, I mean, you guys always want my opinion, my true opinion, and this is a pretty lame movie. So all right, anyway. So this couple, they want to get away from the city. So the wife, who's played by Megan Good, who looks fucking gorgeous in this movie, and her haircut is on point. Let me tell you what. Coming from a professional and all, really, really cool stuff. The property that they want and they move into is fucking phenomenal. Just a beautiful place. I personally would have no interest in it. That's not my style. I am a minimalist. I like as small as possible. That's why I live in a trailer now. People are like, oh my God, is he living in a trailer? Like, is he okay? Guys, this is my choice. This is where I want to live. I want as little space as possible, so I have as little stuff as possible, so I have as little bills as possible, so that I can enjoy my actual life. Your home isn't your life, okay? Anyway, I've only mentioned that because I've gotten like 50 comments, and I get it. Like, it's coming from a good place, because they're just like, are you okay? Is everything all right? This and that. No, this is what I want to, this is where I want to live. This is on purpose. This is my choice. I could live anywhere. Not anywhere. I'm not fucking rich, but you know what I mean. Like, I could live in a house. I could live in whatever I want. This is what I want. Anyway, but I'm not going to deny that the place that they moved to is gorgeous. It is, absolutely. It should be for like, it should be for like a fucking orphanage or something. How many fucking people could they fit in that place? Like, you could fit 20, 30 people on that land comfortably, easily, maybe more. So I don't know. I'm just all right. I'm not here to preach, but yeah. Anyway, beautiful place. Now the whole like growing up in a house, this property being yours your whole life, you taking care of it, mowing the lawn and doing the upkeep and all that stuff. And then one day, because the bank forecloses or something happens that's out of your control, you have to lose your house. I mean, we've seen this explored in plenty of movies, but this happens for real all the time. And Quaid is he's obsessive. This is his home. This is his family's home. And of course he's a lunatic in addition to it, but even if he wasn't, this has got to be a serious issue for people that grew up there that don't want to leave. Like, that is their home. This is my place. I don't want to go anywhere. This is where I feel at home. No one should be here. And even though he got $3.2 million and he could go buy pretty much whatever the hell he wanted, eye option for a trailer, and then you can sit on the other $3.2 million because these things only cost like 20 grand. And you can really live it up. It's not his home. Like, he would not feel right there. And I get that. And I do feel sympathy for him to an extent. Of course, towards the end, and that's just it. I think this is where the film failed for me. I think with the setup, I was at least interested because the wife was more on the side of Quaid's character than her husband's. And we've seen this before, absolutely, where they just won't believe the other person and they turn on their spouse, and the spouse is like, you've got to listen to me. You've seen this a million fucking times. Hand That Rocks the Cradle, every 90s story you ever heard of. But I feel like they had a really good opportunity here to kind of pull the rug out, to really change things up, where, Megan Good's character here could have started a romantic relationship. The husband could have been cheating on her again. And then Quaid's character could have been deeper. He could have been more dimensional than he was. At first I thought he was going to be. At first I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then even when the friend came to check on him and he took him outside and he killed him, like, at first he didn't. And as soon as the setup happened, I was like, he's going to kill him. Shit. But I thought that there was going to be a little more something to him. That maybe he'd put that off. Maybe he would show that he was a good guy. And maybe that, it was more of the obsession with the property and the wife. And then it would kind of turn into this, where the characters didn't really know where they fit. And she would find out that her husband was fucking around on her. And then her and Quaid would actually start to have some kind of a romantic endeavor. And then that would confuse her about where her allegiances lied. And then you would be confused as the viewer because Quaid's really more just kind of an obsessive guy with the house who's fallen for this girl and actually is there for her, because that's what happens throughout the movie. Her husband is fucking never there. He constantly belittles her. He constantly down talks to her, on stuff. Tries to mansplain, if you will. And then Quaid comes over and he's fucking genuinely there for her. He comes over, he helps her with the Christmas lights, and he comes over and, he does all these things for her, and he's genuinely there to listen. He genuinely seems to be into her and care for her. And I just thought that they could have been a very interesting thing to explore that rarely ever will, because then Quaid just becomes the generic, stock, evil, one-dimensional villain that he becomes towards the end, where he's sniffing her hair, and then, once she sees him, he's like, no, and he's chasing her around, and he's just like, her, and he's just mad and angry and almost primitive and caveman-like, and it's like, that's not the character that we got to know for the first 45 minutes of this movie. And it just was so obvious. It was so just paint by numbers, just go with every fucking trope under the sun. And I thought that the film, even though the setup is fairly generic, I thought that with the setup it might actually go somewhere different. And it just doesn't. And that's such a shame, because you have an actor like Dennis Quaid, and then the other two actors are totally good. The film looks really good. I mean, it's a very well-made film, technically. It's boring. I'm not going to say there's style to the movie. So it's very stock when it comes to well-made films from a technical level. It's not like there's any kind of flavor to this where you could be like, oh, this is a Refn movie, or a Denis film, or anybody who has a very signature style to their filmmaking. This is every asshole who's ever made kind of a stock film with a budget. You know what I mean? There's nothing to set this apart from any other movie that you've seen like this. Stylistically, I'm just saying that from a technical standpoint, it looks like a cinematic feature. It looks like there's a production behind it. The acting is all good, but where the film lacks is in its script, and of course, style would help as well. But even without the style, you don't need style to still make a good movie. It helps, and it would elevate the film for sure, but if you take some of the 90s thrillers like A Hand That Rocks the Cradle or Pacific Heights, as I'd mentioned before, I love both of those movies. And there's no style to them. There's nothing, there's no signature style to them. There's nothing in there that's like, oh wow, what an artistic choice by the director. Nothing like that. So it's not absolutely necessary, but of course it does help in the legacy of someone's career. That all being said, yeah, I found this to just be painfully generic. Let's see, what else did I want to know if the guy actually paid his friend $500 because he said that they were going to find something out there, and they went out to look, and then there was something. And was that kids? I mean, later in the movie, it is kids. So I was like, is it? Is it not? I don't know. Then, of course, you have the no gun policy on the property, which that means that he's going to use a gun towards the end. That's always going to happen. In any movie where someone is horribly opposed to violence or guns or whatever, you know that they're going to give up that stance towards the end of the film. Like in Rambo 4 or whatever, with that guy who's in there taking care of everyone, and he's like, no guns, no killing, never, ever. And at the end he's going to kill somebody. It's like, it's so blatant. And of course, that's exactly what happens here. Not to take away from the very last moment of the movie, which I actually think is great. She gets on the phone. It's not something we haven't seen before, but still it's something you like to see, because in these kinds of movies, they always call the police and they're like, you're going to jail or some stupid shit. And the guy comes at him. And maybe they have to pull the trigger because he just won't stop, and he comes at him, and then they shoot him, and he's like, oh, why did we make us do that? Like in this one, no, she turns on a dime. He's sitting there, he has that aversion to guns, and she's like, calls the police. My husband shot an intruder, giving him the go ahead. Now she has to bank on the fact that he's going to do it. In that moment, she really has to be like, all right, I told the cops you shot him, so that now has to happen. I guess technically you could just shoot the wall next to him and be like, oh, well, I thought we shot him, and whatever. But still, she says that, and he does, and that's great. Great ending in that way, in that regard. So I'll give credit to that, at least, where they did just fucking put the guy out of his misery. This guy needs to be gone. He's clearly mentally deranged beyond saving, in my opinion. Him putting up Christmas lights did kind of make me like him a little more, just because it just reminded me of my father. And my father is just Mr. Christmas Lights. And I don't know, when I saw it, I'm sure you have character moments like that where they remind you of someone that you love or someone that you really care about. And you're like, instantly like, oh, I kind of like them now. that had me when he went out into the garage and he had just these oodles of lights. That being said, for all the lights he supposedly had out there and all this stuff, he's like, oh, it's gonna be so grand. And then he drives up. It's really not all that big of a display. It's like a couple lights that's like line the trim of the house, and then a couple in the bushes. And I'm like, that's it? I was expecting it to look like fucking Disneyland, Main Street. What is that? The electric parade, I don't know. Man, I am so stuffy. There's allergies out here right now are horrid. If you live in my area, oh my God, I just want to rip my face off. Anyway, we do find out that the husband has cheated in the past, or at least that's what's alluded to. Scott, the friend who does die, is a total dick. And he's like this white freaking... Is wigger a word that you can even use anymore? I don't really give a shit. That's what he is. He's, he's trying to act all ghetto. And I just can't stand the guy. Throughout the movie, he's just that friend. You're like, oh, God, kill this guy off already. Please, shut the fuck up. So when he kills him, I don't feel any sympathy. It's the only person he kills in the movie. So when he killed him, I'm like, I mean, he's not completely irredeemable yet. In fact, I'm kind of happy. Dennis Quaid's fucking ripped in this movie. I don't feel like they put enough focus on it, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's always in pretty good shape, but I feel like they could have focused on that a little bit more, that he's, a genuine threat. Not only does he know how to fire a gun and all that, but he's physically superior to the husband as well. But when he takes off his shirt, I mean, Dennis Quaid's got to be what, in his 60s? He is fucking cut. He is seriously ripped. I was like, oh shit, man. They show it for like half a second. I was like, you could really focus on that. Especially if I was Dennis Quaid in my 60s and I'm like, film is forever. Let's get this body. Like, let's take a 10-second scene. If we can get 20-second close-up shots in these Marvel movies of Thor and everyone else with their shirt off, then why doesn't Dennis Quaid get one in this movie? I mean, they kind of paint him as a sexy guy anyways. The friend, when she's asked about her, she's like, well, what do you think about him? And she's like, I think he's sexy for an old guy. And he is. I mean, look at him. He's fucking ripped, and he's a good-looking dude. And it's like, Jesus, like, I don't know. When I saw that, I was like, man, he is cut, and they are not focusing on that. I feel like that could have been part of, like, the intimidation. And, for the ladies in the audience that like the older guys, there's tons of them out there, trust me. A lot of daddy issues out there. But that's not going to happen with my kids, okay? I ain't going to have no damn daddy issues. At least I hope not. I'll try not to. The husband in this, provoking Quaid, should have wrote names down, never do, but whatever. Provoke the guy you think is a lunatic and knows where you live and constantly comes onto your property with guns and shot a deer right in front of you. Like, shooting a deer right in front of potential buyers. I feel like, at first I was like, would he really do that? And then when I realized, like, he doesn't really want to sell the property anyways. He has to, but he still doesn't want to. He doesn't give a shit. So I feel like that all makes sense. And the killing of the friend in the moment just seems like a really poor decision. Like, just a really, like, his character is smart and kind of together up until that point. Yes, he's a stalker and all that, but just, it's such a shark jump for me. Like, it goes from 0 to 100 with this character. He's fine, he's kind of stalkery, and then all of a sudden, he's just an absolute fucking lunatic who wants to kill everybody. I don't know. He did kill his wife, and the daughter is like on the run from him, and don't ever call me again, and all this. And okay. And now Megan Good's character plays it very smart here when he comes onto her and he's in the house and all that, and the husband's kind of already let him in on the fact that this dude's crazy. She's like, goes along with it, which is the smart thing to do. Like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. I just, I'm not. And the only thing I will say is every guy knows that the typical cop out for women, like, if you don't understand this yet, let me give you some fucking pointers here. If a woman ever comes out, I'm just not feeling well all of a sudden, that is a bullshit lie to get out of a situation. And like 99% of the time, when all of a sudden, like, there's no indications of it ever before, and then a woman comes out, I don't know, guys, I'm just not feeling well. Oh, fuck off. I had a movie paused here. Not like the Freya? What the fuck is this? Lord. I have a antenna, and it actually picks up HD channels in the area for free. It's pretty cool. I love when shit fucking distracts me from the. That's what adds the authenticity. But what is not authentic is a woman coming out and saying that she's just not feeling well. Guys, oh no. They always come out. They do it in every movie, but they do it in real life too. This is a real common thing. I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure. But my God, can't they come up with a new lie? Can't they come up with a new thing to say? Or just have the fucking guts to come out and be like, you know what? I'm going to leave because I don't fucking like you. I don't fucking want to be here. I would, but that's why I don't have any fucking friends. So there you go. Oh, I don't know. I'm just not feeling well. Are you okay? The person who's like, are you okay? Fuck off. You know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. So Quaid's a little too smart to fall for that shit. But he's in love with her. And he wants to believe her, I guess. I don't know. I'm just so... Oh, man. I have a headache. The headache's for sex. But yeah. Everything else is for trying to get out of situations they don't want to be in. Of course, he lives in the house. The calls are coming from inside the house. Was I just jacking somebody off? That was a phone, not a dick. But yeah, the calls, the whole I live in the house. He lives in the walls like Brahms. Spoilers. How many times? How many times can we do that? But there you go. He's living in the house, and she finds his little hideout. Oh my God, he's living in here. Make him stereotypically evil. Yeah, I already talked about that. Hearing him reload his gun was the time for the husband to run out and smash this guy. But that's just nitpick. That's as I always say, you never know what you're going to do in these situations. A dude stalking you through your house with a shotgun, he's a lunatic. Terrifying. Terrifying. Yeah, I already talked about the ending. Somehow he took a shotgun shell from him out of his pocket, reloaded the gun without us seeing it, movie magic, and then he blows his ass away. So I guess, hopefully he calls the daughter. She's like, don't ever call here again. And I would be like, I'd call her back and she'd be like, what are you doing? I told you never call her. I'm going to be like, I shot your father, okay? So you can stop being a little bitch and get back to a normal life. Click. Yeah, you're welcome. Anyways, so there you go. My honest opinion, as always, to Peter Benavente. And the next one I'm going to review here, The Grave Dancers. I don't feel much different about either, so that's going to be fun. He's probably going to stop requesting reviews, but that's it. I'm not going to give you anything but the truth. Or maybe I should go and be like, oh, Peter, I'm just not feeling really well. I can't do this review ever. All right, adios.